Welcome to This Explainer, where we're diving deep into Stage 2 of process validation. Today, we are focusing squarely on how we confirm that a designed manufacturing process is truly reproducible at a commercial scale. We're going to take what is often seen as just a tedious compliance tick box and transform it into a logical, science-driven journey to commercial readiness.
Okay, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be covering 1. Defining Stage 2 PPQ, 2. Qualifying facilities and equipment, 3. Designing the PPQ protocol, 4. Justifying the batch number, 5. Execution and handling deviations, and 6. The final PPQ report.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Defining Stage 2 PPQ.
Now, Stage 2 isn't just one big monolithic event. It's actually split into two very distinct parts. First up, you have the qualification of the facility, the utilities, and the equipment. Once all of that is locked in and ready to go, we move into the second part, which is executing the Process Performance Qualification, or PPQ. You absolutely need both of these parts to confirm your process, but they involve entirely different activities and generate very distinct sets of evidence.
Words really matter here, and distinguishing between these two concepts is crucial. Qualification simply means your equipment and utilities are fit for their intended use. Validation, on the other hand, means your commercial process reproducibly delivers a quality product. Think about it like this. Qualifying an oven just confirms that it actually heats up to the right temperature when you turn the dial. But validating the process? That means proving your specific recipe consistently bakes a perfect cake every single time you use that oven.
Moving on to Section 2, Qualifying Facilities and Equipment.
Before we even touch the manufacturing process, we have to prove our tools are ready under EU Annex 15. This follows a classic, logical sequence moving from paper design to installed reality. We start with design qualification, or DQ, just checking that the design actually suits the intended use. Then installation qualification, IQ, verifying it was installed to the correct specs. Next is operational qualification, OQ, where we test the controls and operating limits. And finally, performance qualification, PQ, confirming reproducible performance in simulated use. You can't just skip to the end here. Every single step builds the foundation for the next.
But remember, readiness isn't just about the machines. Your PPQ absolutely must be executed by your routine, trained workforce operating exactly as they will in everyday production. People introduce variation too. Plus, all your utilities, things like clean steam, purified water, compressed air, and HVAC systems, they all need to be fully qualified. Instruments must be accurately calibrated. If you try to run a PPQ on unqualified equipment or with an untrained crew, your data is literally uninterpretable.
That brings us to Section 3, Designing the PPQ protocol.
With the facility locked in, we design our rulebook. Your PPQ is not some casual experiment. It's governed by a strict protocol that must be fully approved by quality assurance before you execute anything. This protocol needs specific objectives that actually name your critical quality attributes, or CQAs. It lays out the control strategy. It also mandates a heightened sampling plan because we actively want to characterize within-batch and between-batch variation, which means pulling way more data than routine production. And of course, it needs predefined, strictly measurable acceptance criteria.
So let's test our understanding with a quick scenario. Imagine you run your PPQ, the data comes back, and you find you've narrowly missed an acceptance criterion, just off by a tiny fraction. You might be really tempted to just move the goalposts, right? Can a manager simply widen the criteria to reflect the reality of the results you got? The answer is a firm, undeniable no. Acceptance criteria are objective, measurable conditions approved before any batch is ever made. Adjusting those criteria after the fact to fit your data completely destroys the validity of the entire PPQ process. If you have a narrow miss, you don't rewrite the rules. You formally investigate that miss through your quality system, no exceptions.
All right, let's look at Section 4, Justifying the batch number.
3. For years and years, the industry basically worshipped this rigid rule of 3 for validation batches. It was treated as gospel. Just do 3 batches and you are validated. But under modern guidance, particularly the 2011 FDA lifecycle approach, this is totally superseded, outdated thinking. You should never present always 3 as the current standard.
Instead of asking how many batches, we need to be asking a much smarter question. How much evidence is needed to prove reproducibility? The number of batches has to be risk justified. If you're dealing with a highly complex, novel process with a lot of expected variability, you're going to need a lot more evidence, which means more runs. On the flip side, if you have incredibly strong prior knowledge, extensive real-time monitoring, and low variability, you might have sufficient evidence with fewer runs. It's entirely driven by risk and process knowledge now.
Now for Section 5, execution and handling deviations.
It's time to run the process exactly as the protocol dictates. But we live in the real world, and things sometimes go wrong. When a deviation happens during execution, like a temporary drop in airflow, we don't just panic. We assess the impact using a logical framework. First, did it affect a CQA? If not, we just assess process impact. Is the deviation isolated? If it's a one-off, understood event, it might not actually fail the PPQ. But if it's systemic, that undermines reproducibility. And finally, is the cause thoroughly understood? If yes, you document, justify, and proceed. So remember, not every single deviation automatically fails a PPQ, as long as it's investigated and proven not to impact reproducibility.
Let's bring it all together in Section 6, the final PPQ report.
After execution, all your data, your trends, and your deviations are compiled into the final PPQ report. This document drives the ultimate release to routine decision. It's not just a basic summary, it's the definitive verdict. It confirms that predefined objectives were met, verifies that all deviations were resolved, and crucially, it establishes the ongoing monitoring plan for commercial supply. If all those boxes are checked, you can safely proceed to release.
But what if you don't meet the criteria? I absolutely love this perspective from the source material. A fail is information, not a disaster. If criteria aren't met, you do not force the batch through to routine release. Instead, you use that valuable information to investigate the root causes. You might need to tweak your controls, redesign the process, and requalify. It's always about protecting the patient and the process, not just passing a test.
Now, depending on your regulatory environment and process understanding, there are different officially recognized approaches you can take, especially under EU EMA guidelines. You have the traditional approach, which relies on a justified set of batches. But if you have incredibly high process understanding and extensive real-time data, often enabled by process analytical technology, or PAT, you can use continuous process verification, or CPV. And for mixed processes, you can use a hybrid approach. Basically, you choose the strategy that best fits your process knowledge.
And that brings us to the very end of Stage 2. The baseline is officially set. Your facility is qualified, your process is verified, and you've proven you can reproducibly deliver quality at a commercial scale. But as we successfully release our process to routine manufacturing, I want to leave you with this thought. Reaching this milestone is a huge achievement for sure, but are you fully prepared to maintain this strict state of control every single day on the commercial floor? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.